reality into your own being. Okay,
Right.
So Crowley might have, communed with different entities and so on, not to worship them or to.
Do you mind being filmed?
You
prefer not to?
Yeah, if you want.
I like what you're talking about, though, man.
Yeah, I don't know if I know much about it, but I'll give it a whirl. Well, that's it really. It was an active form of meditation. Ritual is an active form of meditation, whereas like right hand path yoga is much more passive. And it's a Western tradition that comes from Rosicrucianism. It's got its roots back in Egypt, and Chaldea, and lots of different, mystery cults from the Middle East as well. But it's not evil in itself. It's perceived as evil.
Could there not be, let's say for instance, maybe one of these entities that has characteristics that you do a ritual and you're channeling that into yourself. Maybe those characteristics of that entity are view yourself as the only thing of value and exploit everyone as you will, and then the effects of that on other entities in this realm I would judge to be bad because of the suffering that it creates. That's kind of what I'm trying to tell you.
You can do that without doing ritual.
I know, but if somebody said that they've done
a demon to be a bad person.
Of course I'm not saying that, but if we're talking specifically about people that research the mystery religions and go after doing rituals to them, I'm super suspicious of it.
It just doesn't suit. For some people it works. They like the idea of some sort of intermediary to get where they're going, and they may not have it. They may not be their goal to be enlightened. They might just want to use, they might want to encourage wealth, or they might want to encourage good health, or whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
So they might want to do that. But equally, if you want good health, eat well. But you don't need to summon up some.
You could also, I know.
But that's an old tradition. You worship the corn goddess, or to encourage good crops or good fertility. It's a very old idea, but you're encouraging the archetype in your mind.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah, it's inward. What's that? Yeah, well, you could say that. Yeah, I mean, it's all in you anyway, but they kind of understand that.
So is spirituality then, from your point of view, that you say, like you've got your views and you've got your out-of-death experience, whatever it was, or actually out-of-body experiences and things. But are we just really giving explanations for things that are already there, our emotions, our psyche, the way we are as, our metaphysical build-up, our biological build-up, and therefore our chemical build-up and everything, for example. Those tools are already there. We're already in that world, aren't we, where we have spiritual moments and moments of joy, pain, and all that sort of thing. So if you take that as a cocktail, is that not how you see you're having these experiences? Just part of things that are already there. You're having experience with that cocktail, in effect, and I might have different experiences. Leo may have different experiences, for example, based on the same cocktail that is here for us.
A ritual magician would be encouraging specific qualities within themselves to make something happen.
Yeah, but are you using the cocktails that we already know are there? Like wind, rain, sun, emotions, feelings, happiness, joy, all the things that we've manufactured as humans, like music, from everything.
It's all in this anyway. Oh, sorry.
Because everything gives us those moments of spirituality, doesn't it? So, did your experience come from an outer source, or is it just what's already there?
Well, that's a good question, and of course I can't know for sure.
Yeah.
But I can give you some sort of my own reasoning. Is that, as I was trying to say before, is that as we understand this reality, the physical realm, right, is atoms, and there's quarks, and this is just energy. This is energy in a certain configuration. All of our physicality is made of the same thing. We have the same atoms as the tree, it's the same part, it's just configured differently. That creates our biology. Okay? Which is, in itself is a crazy thing to comprehend, is that all of this stuff that we seemingly understand is all made of the same building block. What I'm trying to say is that it seems to me that you can have experiences that give you insight into other realms that are beyond this, that are maybe outside it. If you look into something like the simulation hypothesis, it might be something like that. Is that the energy that we see here is part of a simulation, and things that we can tap into beyond are beyond it. That are something that we can't understand in the realms of science, basically, more or less. That's my own kind of look at it.
The world we're living in, to me, is I can get spiritualism, as I've said to you before, because it's almost a cocktail of what we already have. In other words, you can manufacture a spiritualism from anything from music, art, emotion. What's already here as a cocktail available to us can sometimes impact on us to give us that spiritual.
But this is the thing. I mean, like, you know, shamanic magic or something. It's a or alchemy.
So what do I need to?
Well, if you want to, if you want to make something happen, you work with qualities of self that you just don't focus on normally in life. So you know, you'll be working with archetypes and high levels of energy within the body to encourage those ideas to manifest, to bloom in very extreme ways that otherwise you wouldn't experience. There are techniques, tantra, various, you know, like the whirling dervishes, and you get yourself beats of the voodoo drums.
There's drugs
will work,
drugs
sex,
act as a catalyst to
and
spirituality.
this is what people do, and if they want to have different experiences, they'll use these techniques. Most of the Abrahamic religions had all this going on in them. It was all going on in them. They were doing all sorts of different
But
things.
again, we are using the toolbox, aren't we?
Yeah, it's all there. It's all.
But we don't understand this toolbox that you say.
Yeah.
I mean, science is full of unknowns. Is what's so fascinating about it. If you look at the universe, we don't know we can see a point originally of origin where things expanded from. We don't understand what that is.
Yeah.
And then, like I said about atoms, but then if you look at dark energy and dark matter, never mind if we go into the quantum realm, which I'm not an expert on at all, but I've just read a few things, very, very interesting. Quantum realm it seems beyond logic. It's self-contradictory. Things can be in multiple places at the same time. Things that don't seem to make sense. So we don't understand how that
you
works.
don't need to go and find them. Well, what I'm saying is you don't need necessarily to go and find those tools, but there are ways you can make them impact on you to become a spiritual.
Do you like dreaming, right? Everyone likes it.
Yeah,
so if you want to learn to dream lucidly, there's a specific technique to learn to have fully lucid
That's
dreams.
what I'm saying.
And if you want to call that spiritual, you can. You don't have to. It's a very vague word. But if you want to learn how to be awake in your dreams or to perceive your body from the height, there are things you can do. But people don't do that, do they? Unless
Not
they
regularly,
think to
no.
do it.
It's unless you deliberately seek it out.
Now, if you want to experience a unity or a sense of unity consciously, specific meditative techniques will allow you to have those experiences. If you don't do that in life, you won't experience it, right? It's very rare you'll have bliss or.
You don't need to. Oh, sure, you don't need to do. You can do the meditation can be designed for that, but the stuff that I've experienced has never been in a formal way. It's been like doing exercise or exploring somewhere, or the near-death experiences I've had, or violent confrontations. And after things like this, they've triggered certain events in my, as you would say, like visions.
But you're getting all of that from your human existence toolbox. It's all there.
Well, I've already
it's interacted on you.
I know, but
what I'm saying is, are you saying your out-of-body experience? This is what I'm trying to get to. Sorry if I missed something on this, because I came in late to this. Sorry about this, I came in late. Very simple question for me. Is your out-of-body experience, whatever happened to you, are you saying it was something outside of the realm that came and interacted with you, or was it from the toolbox that came to a certain togetherness that made you have that experience?
I can only tell you what I felt instinctively from it. I'm not claiming to be science, nor truth.
No.
So that's fundamental to say. It felt beyond it. I think this is probably a simulation, and the experiences I had felt beyond it.
So you think it's beyond that toolbox? Something major happened, something special happened to you,
Beyond
rather
the
than
physical
something
realm.
that I could manufacture for myself.
I don't think you could
like
make it
you're
and
saying,
sell
Alex,
it.
I
No.
could probably manufacture something myself.
You can get yourself in different states
Oh
of
well,
consciousness.
the primary experience was probably the easiest one to describe was when I had my appendix ruptured, and I had a near-death experience in the hospital here about a year ago. And then when I woke up from that, I had crazy visions, man. The most psychedelic, mind-tripping, beyond understanding kind of experiences, and I wrote them all down right after it, so I wouldn't forget it. I wouldn't forget anyway. But yeah, so that was one of the major points.
And what type of experiences did you see? What?
It takes quite a while to get into it, man. But it's something like that. So I'll try and describe it to you. Do you mind if we change angle or something? Because I'm getting the sun just in my eyes. Yeah, nah, that's a bit better. Yeah, so I didn't mean it, guys. You can come back on. I just getting in my eyes. So whatever.
Sorry, I thought we were here. Sorry.
Yeah, so I said this once before on another video, but it was maybe I'd like to know what your out-body experience are as well, because maybe we can see similarities.
Out-of-body experiences. I mean, I haven't had lots of out-of-body experiences. I've had a few over the years, just from practicing trying to do it.
Yeah.
Not from any sort of physical thing, but the one, you can't say if it's real or not because it's very very difficult to prove. But all I know is that there's an experience of looking down on yourself, and it's real. Right? You're fully aware. It's not a dream. But that's these things can be done. You could say you're tricking your mind, or you could say it's actually happening. I can't say which is true, right?
Yeah.
But you had an experience.
Oh yeah.
That's all you can say.
You would know the route to it.
I know how I did it. I know how to do it.
And did you do it through meditation, or did you do it through some drugs as well, like
No
DMT
drugs.
and Irish?
No, not drugs. Just
like that.
I mean, you always one of the techniques is lying in bed, get out of bed, jump, go back to bed, lie in bed, get out of bed, jump. Keep doing that. Eventually, you'll get out of bed, jump, and you'll float. Because your body's fallen asleep, but your mind continues on. So there's many different ways of doing it, but that's the one that works for me. So, and I don't practice this. I've done it years ago. It's not something. But if we're talking about altered states of consciousness, there are ways of doing it. And you had it through a trauma, right?
Well, I think it was. I don't know whether it's accurate, but they say that there's a load of DMT stored in the brain, and it's released on when you have a near-death experience.
Right.
I think that's what it was, because the things that I saw or experienced, I've read other people seeing similar things, like seeing other entities. That's one thing that's very strange to describe. People like,
That sounds like a DMT type of experience.
oh yeah, well, it was very, very crazy stuff, man. So
But isn't it interesting when you say like DMT and this sort of thing? It's also what I would imagine, not having gone to that point, but if you're getting to a near-death experience, and like you say, when we dream, our brain is recalculating what we've had in the day sometimes or from the past. It makes logical sense why that would be what we're expecting to see to a certain extent. So people are coming back with stories, they saw doors open, white lights, all sorts of things we hear about, which are almost like manufactured human things we're expecting to see. What I don't ever hear is something so amazingly out of the box that wouldn't surprise me someone would give as a near-death experience. Now the reason that could well have happened, they could well have seen that, is that possibly that is because the body's storing their human life, their cognitive response is still stored within that DMT reaction whole thing. Because remember, even today we're taking in this as a historic moment in our lives, the fact we're standing here just now. So that might come back to us someday. We were all standing in Speaker's Corner doing this. And so that's why I find these out-death experience stories not surprising when they tell me what they saw. It's almost like that's what you'd expect a human to see in a near-death experience. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying you didn't see it.
Before we go into any detail, let's see, what would you expect to see?
Well, if I was going, because of the way I've been schooled in the world and what I know about, you hear about religious teaching, schooling and everything, I expect if I was at a near-death experience, I might well think I'm going through a door or going up to a higher plane or going up to a heaven or seeing maybe my dead grandparents and my family come back to me and all sorts of things. I could make that story up to you now as very convincing because that's what I would expect might happen to me on a near-death experience, because near-death is the word, near is the main one. I'm not dead yet. So as a near-death experience, my brain is still operating for me to almost rewind my life. So there would be things in there. So if I was to have a near-death experience, I would imagine, like they always say, it's a bit corny, your life flashes between your eyes, because I would in fact would be things that I've already sucked in as a cognitive response experience, which in effect is what life is to me, a cognitive response experience.
It's very difficult because you can induce states
What's
of
outside of that am I going to have?
You can induce states of consciousness through ritual or meditation, and you'll experience things that you haven't actually been involved in your life that will just come out of nowhere. And you can say that's the unconscious mind, collective unconscious expressing itself. You could argue that. But it's very difficult to know because you would expect things, to appear to you that you've had some experience of. And often in meditation or ritual or shamanic practice, things will come to you that are so shocking. Now, that's what the whole point of it is. It gives you a newness, a new level of awareness that slaps you in the face and actually is beyond anything you've actually experienced before. It's not about going for the familiar. This is the whole point, right?
Yeah,
it's about the unfamiliar.
It can reinvigorate you.
It can
definitely what happened to me.
To be fair, that is my point. is that what I'm saying is I can't stand here today and say what you didn't have isn't what you think outside of your. I'm just trying to work out what I would think a near-death experience would be because of.
You have to have your own experience.
So there's got to be
have an
something
opinion on it,
above
right?
that. What I would expect to make that a convincing
Well,
issue.
that's the whole
Is
point.
it not a bit of a
Yeah.
paradox though? Because if you could tell me something that you wouldn't expect to
Exactly,
see,
I got.
well, there's a paradox then.
Yeah, I
So
realise about the paradox.
it might not be
But
productive.
what I'm saying is that your near-death experience, if you say I saw a light, I went through a door and everything, that probably wouldn't surprise me. But if you said something else had happened to you, I thought, well, I haven't heard that one before or something, there may be another angle to this. So I just feel that maybe the dying brain for me is wrapping up that information we've taken within our cognitive response.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter because you still have the
ultimately, it doesn't matter. You
experience.
have an
That's
experience
yeah,
that
that's
augments your life, or it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, and you're never going to convince anyone. It's just like you can never convince anyone as a god. You have an experience of God, or you don't have an experience.
But this
of God,
chat
right?
isn't
I
to
mean,
convince.
that's-
I'm
you
not
live with it,
convinced
or
by you. I'm not saying
I'm-
you didn't have it. I'm just
I'm
saying.
definitely not trying to convince you, nor
No,
anybody
No,
else.
but I'm not here to belittle you. I'm not saying that you didn't have that experience. I'm just trying to work out why you may have had
The
that
key
experience.
is
be
to
fair
have
to you.
I think if
Only
you're
you
true
know if you had it.
scientific, if you're going to be scientific, don't go and throw yourself in front of a car and have to try and have a near-death experience.
No,
right?
no, I won't
But
do that today.
At least practice. If you don't want to risk your soul, if you believe you've got a soul, don't practice meditation or magic or all that weird stuff. And become religious or whatever. But if you want to sit down and meditate every day and see if something happens. That's the key. Do it for 2 years. Scientists say, "Oh, meditation's rubbish," or not a lot of them do. They're quite open. They don't dismiss it. They don't dismiss it. It's not fair. But they'll say they don't know because they don't have the proof. But the key is to practice. Do the work. Sit down and meditate. Make a note. See what happens. Get the experience. Right. I mean, that's obvious to me. There's no people say, "Oh, yeah,
It's an exploration of your own. It could be your psyche, and it could be something
But
deeper.
I've given up doing what you're saying there.
Same with God, though. If you don't believe in God, try and experience God. Don't just dismiss it. Be agnostic at least. Search.
Right.
But
I think.
as I said, I'm not giving up on that. I'm not here disbelieving you or disbelieving him
you've got no
about
mind.
your experience. I'm just wondering why that. I'm just trying to put a practical
It's a
thing.
great
why.
question. Why? Yeah.
Why? And it seems that you can sort of join dots to why that you might have had that. However, I'm not here to say, which a lot of people will say and laugh, you say, "Oh, you never had that." If you say you had it, you had it. And I can understand why you may well have had it. It's very interesting because we don't know this answer to this.
There's I can't see there's any ultimate answer apart from experience. That's what this is, experience. And you'll only, even if you're standing in front of your God in the afterlife being judged, you're only going to have an experience. It's going to be an experience.
Yeah, I mean, 4 weeks
This is
ago,
it. We're having it
4
now.
weeks ago, I had a dream, and I spent what appeared to be hours in this dream, for example, talking to my late grandfather who died in 1994, and he was as clear to me as I remember him as a human. We were having a full conversation. Now go and answer me that one. Someone will say he came and reappeared and all that. It's just probably my recognition of him and my cognitive response of him. So I could recreate a scenario with him. If that makes sense.
Well, if there is a unity like the mystical religions say, if there is a first cause, it's all powerful. It can do whatever it wants. So we could look at it from that perspective. But it doesn't mean that we have to believe it. It doesn't mean we can't try and experience it.
But the fact it did you good, I'm very pleased for you. I am pleased for you. If it did you good, then that's a nice thing. It's a nice thing. Good for you. All right.
So I think we're done.
Thanks for the chat. Enjoyed it.
Yep.
Thanks, all the best. I won't shake your hand.